Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's video where you and I will uncover why 10x is easier than 2x. Why is it that so relatively few people create quantum leap after quantum leap, creating exponential growth with whatever they undertake? And why is it that so many they just grow in increments year after year, while a lot of people not grow at all? Now, the answer to these questions, they might surprise you, and it is as illogical as it is unconventional. But the few that actually use this principle are guaranteed exponential growth, and you are too when you follow these principles. So, welcome, welcome. It's good to have you, and I love that we have so many live with us already. Let me see an emoji in the chat if you are ready to create quantum leap exponential growth as opposed to incremental step by step growth where there's not a whole lot of personal growth attached to it. And so the main reason why we do these kind of goals is actually because you want to make sure you keep growing as a person. So good to have you. Welcome, everybody. We're talking about why 10x is easier than 2x, and that means why it is easier to create a quantum leap goal with exponential growth attached to it, as opposed to creating an incremental step by step 5-10% improvement, etc., which is where most people live, especially when it comes to their business goals. And that is what this principle is based on today. Hey, Annette. Hey, Sabina. Welcome in. It's good to see you guys. Wonderful. So, this principle today is actually based on Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy's wonderful book, 10x is easier than 2x. And I can only recommend it. Make sure you get it. And not only read it, make also make sure that you actually implement, which is what most people do not do. They let information be information. And as we know, we haven't learned anything until we apply it. That is what I have done over the years. And there's actually another book that very much that was the first one I studied when it came to quantum leaps, and it's called U Squared by Price Pritchett. I know some of you have it, but they're both based on the same principle, and it's about how to create exponential growth. It's illogical, it makes no sense, but it is so much more rewarding, and people around you, if you have a business especially, will thank you afterwards because you have served more people in a way that you never could have done before. Hey, Bo, good to see you. Welcome in. So let me know if you have read 10x is easier than 2x, or if you have read U Squared by Price Pritchett. And I remember I attended a seminar with Bob Proctor, and Price was a guest speaker because they were good friends. And Price wrote to me here. I asked him for his signature, and he said, He said, Anders, go for a breakthrough. Now, no excuses. And that's interesting, isn't it? Because we either create results or we create excuses. So this is mainly from a business perspective, how you create quantum leap in business. You can utilize the same principle in all areas of life, but it's mostly geared towards business. But you can apply it to all areas, like I said. So how many of you know this principle? Are you aware of the thinking behind quantum leap growth? Let me know in the chat. Hey, Dita, good to see you. Annette has great principles, she said. Awesome. That is really good. So, why is it that we should stretch and aim for more? Has it to do with the goals and what we get? Of course not. It has to do with who we become in the process. And that's the main thing here. Great. Did it? You have something in store. It's great books. Make sure you get them. And so we want to create, and I will illustrate this in a little bit, and you'll start to understand this principle more and why it's important. But first, I think it's very, as a foundational thing, it's super important that you and I understand why we set goals in the first place. It's not to get them, it's to grow as a person. And we have unlimited, unending potential. So to make sure you bring that potential to the surface in your life is why we set goals. So a goal is a growth mechanism. Does that make sense? Just let me see your favorite emoji in the chat if this makes sense. A goal is a growth mechanism. We don't set the goal to get it. We set the goal and pursue it to grow as a person. And you will find when you utilize this principle fully in your life, you bring more of life to your life, light and life to your life. It's a beautiful thing. Great. Makes sense? Wonderful. All right. Just if this makes sense, we don't set the goal to get it. We set the goal to grow as a person in our life and in our business. Let me see your favorite emoji if that resonates. Good. Christina, that's so good. Nice. All right. And if you have a goal, let me know as well. Just type yes in the chat if you have a goal that you're actively pursuing. That gives me an idea of where to take the rest of this segment in this video. So just type yes in the chat if you have a goal, if you have something that's truly worthy of you that you are pursuing. Nice. Good deal. Wonderful, guys. Very, very good. So you will find that you will achieve your goal faster and easier when you times it by 10 and not 2. It's very illogical, but now we're starting to think exponentially. And to achieve that kind of growth, you must fundamentally change your approach and your thinking and your mindset. And now, instead of focusing on what you've done before, you start focusing on innovation, on leveraging your unique capabilities, your unique abilities. And that's hard for a lot of people when they've been used to working harder and running faster, like I did in entertainment for all those years. But when my good friend and mentor, Bob Proctor, got me to start thinking differently about it, it came with a different energy. So, most people's challenge is that they are stuck in a model where they spend all of their time. There's no free time left to think about what would work and what they would be excited to bring to the world. So, here's the key. When you start thinking, and I'm going to share my screen here, when you start thinking 10x thoughts, so it's 10x. It's much more effective than the old 2x. If I can just double, if I can just make a living out of it, you hear that all the time, especially entrepreneurs. Somebody yesterday said, if I can just make a living out of, and said, there's no inspiration there, there's no growth there. Make sure you go for 10. And when you do, it brings you onto a completely different frequency. And so we know that everything is energy, and most people's thinking is here. It's in harmony with what they have right now, and they say, well, if I can just get this, and that's where the 2x thinking comes in. But don't you agree it takes the same amount of mental effort and the same mental tools that have to be engaged to think these kind of thoughts as it does to think these type of thoughts? 10x. You might as well go here. It's the same mental tools, it's the same mental processes, it's the same energy, it's the same laws, same everything. Let me know in the chat if it does make sense intellectually. Now, emotionally, it might not make sense to you, and I'll explain that in a moment. Nice. Makes sense, Cecilia? That is so good. So when we start thinking 10x thoughts, you're not thinking of something bigger, you are thinking from something bigger, and that's where the energy comes to you. So we have to recognize we're energetic beings, right? And we don't get energy, we release energy. And so I know you have those experiences where an idea hits your mind, you get emotionally involved in the idea, and you just feel great. You have to express the idea, you have to call people, execute on it, write the email. You do the things you have to do to express the idea. You got inspired. Well, where does that come from? In spirit. You were one with the creative flow that rushes to and through you. And so when we start thinking from a 10x goal, you have to start really thinking about what makes you unique. What is it uniquely that you can identify and leverage to bring more of you to the game? So that means those are the things that that you are exceptionally good at and that you enjoy doing. Because the things you enjoy doing are key to experiencing this exponential growth. If I didn't love what I was doing, I would never have been able to achieve this. Now, this is coming from a guy who went from, let me share this with you in numbers, went from $40,000 per year. That's the most I had ever earned. Don't you agree? It took quite a lot of exponential 10x thinking to go from that to the next year to have earned $750,000 a year in 1 year, not even in 11 months. It took me 11 months to go from 40,000 a year to 750,000 a year. Now, most people will say that kind of growth takes a long time. They are married to the idea that time is money, that better results takes longer. This kind of thinking will yank you out of that mindset completely. And so you can, and then we, took it over 1 million. And in a year, of course, the next quantum leap came when I turned $1 million in a year to $1 million in a month. So you see, there's no end to it. These are just numbers, of course, but it's an expression of service, of unique capabilities, and it's an expression of this idea in action. So in other words, the guy that's talking right now, the one you're listening to, it's not somebody who's just learned to read a book and regurgitate the information. My goodness to me, they're all over the place right now. People who've never implemented anything. It's just information, it's words, it's noise, in my opinion. Make sure that you turn the knowledge into awareness. And what's the difference? Knowledge is what you gather from your senses. Awareness is a state that you build up from within by applying the information. And when you do that, no one can take the awareness away from you. I know uniquely how to turn my annual income into my monthly income because I've done it multiple times. This is not theory for me. This is not something I just think about. I live it every day. Can I do better? Of course I can. I know I can. That's why I pursue my own growth every single day. That's why I make darn sure I have people around me every day that see something in me that I can't see. And most people think it's expensive to have a coach or a mentor in their corner. It's ignorance on their behalf. It's very expensive not to. Very, very expensive. What would it have cost me if I didn't utilize this concept? Now think about it. If I had continued to earn $40,000 in a year throughout those years, it would have cost me the difference between 40,000 and $1 million a month. That would have been millions of dollars I would have left on the table because of my own ignorance. So this is important for you who are wanting to creating more freedom or wanting to grow your business. And another really good point here is that for you to do this, simple works. Let me know in the chat if you understand the idea that it is much more expensive not to quantum leap your goals as it is to work with yourself to do it. Now that was a wordful, but let me illustrate this again. So a person says, my goal right now, I'm earning $500,000 a year. $500,000 a year. That's what they earn right now. They want to earn that a month. All right. What's the difference? So their new goal is $6 million a year because that's 500,000 times 12. They are paying life right now $5.5 million per year in their ignorance, in ignorance tax. Ignorance, it's just not knowing. It's not negative. It's just not knowing. But ignorance tax, not knowing, is the biggest tax you're paying every year. I don't care where you live. People say, well, taxes are expensive. No, your ignorance is expensive. That is expensive. That is most likely going to cost you your goal and your dream. So what will it cost you not to 10x your results? The difference, of course. Let me know if this resonates, if you understand that it's costing you a lot not to understanding this. If you just understand that the ignorance is costing you a lot, we've made progress. We made big progress here. Nice. So for you to 10x your results, you have to simplify. Simple is always better. The enemy of success is complexity. Most people think, well, I want more, so I have to create a big, complex system. It takes so much more. It really doesn't. You just have to think from a different frequency. And that is not easy because you're programmed to think from the frequency that you're on right now. So, does it take a respectable amount of changing your mindset? Yes, it does. Does it take focus? Yes. Do you have to be willing to let go of everything that's not in harmony with it? Absolutely. You have to. It requires you to eliminate distractions and non essential tasks, allowing you to focus on what actually drives those kind of results. So imagine that you want to create that quantum leap, but you have people around you telling you how crazy you are, how illogical you are, how you should be careful. Do you think that's easy? No. So you have to be willing and able to let go of those relationships, in some cases, people, friendships that have great advice, but mostly it's coming from people who never have done it. They just are fearing doing it. So they're projecting their own fear onto you. Great, Ethan. I love that. So we have to let go of something of a lower nature to receive something of a higher. And that's so we can understand that. We get it, we know that right now you're here, you're creating, let's say, maybe not even 2x results. Maybe it's just 1x. Maybe it's just same. And then you say, well, I want this. That's the 10x result. And now you're thinking from that frequency. You're totally thinking from a different place. But don't you agree? You have to let go of all this. You have to let go of the thinking. You have to let go of the people in some cases. My company has done that multiple times. I've had, right now we're 6 on the team, and I have about 25 former employees. That tells you something. Some have left on their own volition. Some we have had to let go because they just were not in harmony with this energy. And when I started this 10x way of thinking, every time I set a new goal and a new vision for where we're going, some people have just not vibed with that idea. So they left on their own. And some, like I said, were just not conducive to the growth of the company anymore. And so it's hard. It's not easy. You have to let go, and you have to forgive yourself and them and everybody else, and you have to let go and move forward. But that's what most people are unwilling to do. It is not easy. It is not easy to 10x your thinking and letting go. Most people can 10x their thinking in terms of goal setting. They can set goals all day long. My goodness, to me, they're great at it. But actually doing the work, actually letting go and taking action from that frequency, that's different. That's why we need, in many cases, effective coaching and mentorship. So, does it take a shift in perspective? And yes, it does. 10x thinking requires you to look for new opportunities, new partnerships, new strategies that you couldn't have thought about with step-by-step growth. So as an example, a few years ago, my company was doing a lot of things in both the English-speaking market, in the Danish market, and all over the place. We were doing live challenges, live events. We were doing a lot. And we had signed a contract with a hotel to do a Real Magic Live event in Denmark. And we were doing a lot of things in the English market at the same time. So, needless to say, that was overwhelming. And we got to, it was because we hadn't leveraged ourselves properly at that time. So, about 2 months before the event, the team made me aware that in 2 months, we need to fill this theater because we signed a contract with this hotel that we had committed to. So, if there was one person or 400 people, the bill for that event would be the same, about 1.1 million Danish kroners. And so I thought to myself, and the team said, what should we do? And I said, I don't think we need to do anything. I just need to connect with that idea. Think from the goal. So I spent an entire weekend thinking from that frequency. Now that the theater is full, how easy did we get here? And so ideas came. I started some partnerships with my friends in the same industry. We did an online event and we sold an additional 200 and 300 tickets in like 2 or 3 days. But I didn't think of the goal, I thought from the goal. And that's my tip to you today. When you ask yourself, when you take your goal and you 10x it, and you ask yourself, how easy did I get here? Thank you, thank you, thank you. How easy did I get here? Ideas will rush to you from that frequency. You're not thinking of the goal, you're thinking from the goal. That's a big difference. Okay, just type in the number 1 in the chat if you understand this. There's a difference between thinking of the goal and thinking from the goal. When you think from the goal, you are already there. You're not getting there someday, next year. You're there. Mentally, you're there. All ideas comes from one source, pure energy, and you have access to it right now. So you don't get the goal. You just become aware of what you already have. So big difference. Massive difference. Chloe, love that you're here. Hope you're doing well. Hope your parents are doing well over in Texas. I saw you had a great trip to Paris. All right, good. A lot of people are on board with the number 1. So it's a massive shift in perception. So is there a higher level to your goal? Absolutely. There's a much higher level to your goal. And somebody said the other day, well, I don't need that much. That is so selfish to think like that. I don't need. Our whole life has been based on need, right? Parents, we don't need that much. We don't need that. So we just keep buying into the lie. We have to set goals based on need. I don't need that. That's stupid. Those people pay an incredible amount of stupid tax in their life. No, it's selfish. Go for what you want so you can give more. It's not about you. It's about what you can contribute with to the world. I don't set goals for me. I set goals for my participants so I can contribute more. I set goals so that we can reach more people. We are well on our way to the next quantum leap in the business. We've attracted massive talent that will help us get there. And that's what happens. But this is not based on need. This is based on want. And a 10x goal is about want. Want. Where can you give more? Where can you contribute more? Where can you change the world more? Your world, the world of the people around you. That's what it's about. So it's a selfish thing, this thing. Well, I don't need that much. We don't really need that. Scratch that thinking. That's old world paradigms. Get them out of the way. Cut the cord to those ideas. They don't belong here. They really don't. So when you go for a 10x goal, you also reap 10x rewards, of course. The impact, the satisfaction, the gains are so much bigger than the modest gains of a 10x goal, 2x goal, excuse me. So what I've done in the past is once we've reached our 10x goals, I've rewarded my team. We've done team retreats all over the world. I've sometimes chartered a private jet to fly people there. We've had a lot of fun, chartered a yacht when we were here in Miami. We've done a lot of fun things together. We would never have been able to do that. And the contributions, we've almost reached $80,000 in contributions to our charity partner, 3 Square Food Bank, that helps food insecure children. We could never have done that if we hadn't done a quantum leap goal setting process and actually executed on it. So what I hope you take away today is that when you set a 10x goal, you can be more and contribute more in the world. You have much more to give from. And that is what I would encourage you to do today. And there are some blocks in all of us that stands between that kind of thinking and where we are right now. In fact, I have identified 5 illusions, 5 mindset blocks that are standing in most people's way between where we are and where we want to be. And Annette, 1 goal card. You don't have many goals. You have 1 goal. Your brain and your mind needs leadership. And your brain and your mind are 2 different things, just to clarify. But your mind needs leadership and the brain needs leadership. and you need a clear trajectory. Otherwise, you're just confusing yourself. One goal, always one. All right. So we have these 5 mental illusions that most people live with. And I've actually created a quiz for those of you who are new to our world that is totally free, that will help reveal to you what your mind's number one success blocking illusion is. I would encourage you to do that quiz. It's in the description here below the video. Click on it. There's a Danish version and an English version. You can click on either one, whichever language you choose, and that will reveal to you what illusion is standing in the way between where you are now and where you truly deserve to be. So go take that quiz. Make sure you set a worthy 10x goal for yourself. It's much easier. Get the book 10x is easier than 2x. And while you're at it, get U squared as well. As you can see, mine is falling apart, but I've studied it for many years now and I keep studying it. You are worthy of so much more than what you are living right now. I know I am, and because I know me a little bit better than I used to with all the studies I've done, I know you a little bit better because our minds work the same way. So it's not who we are that holds us back. There's infinite potential within us. What is holding most people back are all these pesky illusions about who we think we're not. Make sure you go and break through those illusions, take the quiz, and I'll see you next week to our next hour together here, or time together, maybe not a full hour, but I'll see you next week, every Tuesday, 9 a.m. Eastern, and that is 3 p.m. Central European Time and 7:30 Indian Standard Time. Bye for now.